All right, what's going on, everyone? It's Nicholas Akin here on the post-fight podcast, South China Morning Post, SCMP MMA Live. I am with my beautiful co-host, Christopher Edwards Bailey, over in Hong Kong. And Chris, there's so much news to get into. I know we talked a little bit about what we were going to cover last night, but then even more stuff happened after that conversation while you were asleep and I was still awake because I'm in London in the UK. And I don't know what we're going to cover, but let's just dive in first. Actually, first of all, how are you doing, Chris? How rude of me not to ask.
I'm fantastic. I'm good. It's
Okay.
nice. Halfway through what I think is the hardest month of the year. January is always a little bit of a rough one. It's a long month, 31 days. Spent a bit of money at Christmas and New Year's, so just trying to not hit the wallet a little bit too much. But it's good. It's a new year, and it's all coming together, I guess. And this weekend we're back at it with one championship and the UFC after our informal mid-season break or end of season break.
Is it a tough month because you're not having any booze? You're doing dry January. Is that
I am
why?
not doing dry January. I did dry
Okay.
January for a few days, but in Hong Kong they brought in some restrictions, so everything closes at 6 o'clock. So met a few of my friends and had a few beers with everything closing because it might be a while.
I mean, I've only drunk on 3 days this month, so I feel that's an improvement on what I'm normally like in Hong Kong. And I tell you what, it's just something about being in England is different. I think Hong Kong is very it lends itself to drinking culture. I don't know why. There's something about it, but yeah, I'm having a slight detox here. But let's get into it, Chris. There's so much to get into, and we'll be here all day otherwise. But I don't know where to start. Maybe we should just go with One Championship X. That's the big news. That's on the graphic here. It's the headline, the first thing. So let's dive in. Chatri was on Ariel Helwani's MMA Hour last night, and he said that Angela Lee and Stamp Fairtex are going to headline the show. And also DJ Rodtang is still on. It's going to be in March 26th, 12,000 capacity Singapore Indoor Stadium, full crowd in Singapore for the first time since the pandemic started. And Adriana Moraes against Yuya Wakamatsu for the flyweight title, also on the card. He said that Bibiano and John Lineker are no longer on the card, and they're in February's show,
February
Bad Blood,
11th.
February 11th, yeah, and didn't mention anything about Tan Lei and Gary Tonin.
No, but
A
didn't
lot
he
to
also
unpack.
mention Sage and Shinya will be on 1X?
Yeah, and Eddie Alvarez.
Oh, wow, that's absolutely perfect.
Yeah, so much to get into there. Where do you want to start? Angela Lee's back, I guess. That's the main event, right?
That is the main event. Nice to see her back. I want to say it's, what is it, a year and a half?
It's been
Or
more
was
than
it
2 years. It's
Or is it
been
2.5 years then? Well, 2.5 years, she's had a kid in that time. There's been a Grand Prix. Um, we finally found a contender worthy enough. You know what? And you do have to respect Stamp. She's absolutely ran through herself to just get where she is. I thought she was absolutely sublime against Ritu in the final. I did not expect that. And I think we're in for a super interesting fight. And it'll just be interesting to see how Angela is right now after giving birth and after the changes in her life.
James Bedell in the comments saying, "Good to see you guys. Good to see you too as well, James. Hope you're having a happy New
100%.
Year." Ruth in the chat saying, "Stamp amazing power as well." Yeah, I can't wait to see this fight. I'm glad that it's happening quickly in this year after all the nonsense that happened last year with the Atomweight Grand Prix and all the delays. I know not all of them were one's fault, but yeah, let's get things moving there. And what did I say? DJ Rodtang, yeah, that is on. I'm a little Let's talk about the fights that aren't on because they bumped Bibby and Lineker, like you said, Chris, to February,
Yeah.
and no mention of Turnley, Gary Tonin. So, what is going on there? Why did they delay the card in December 5th just to then tell those guys who were going to be on the card? Actually, you know what, guys, we don't need you for the 10th anniversary. They could have just done the fights, Chris. That's what I'm
That
saying.
that is the problem. They could have just done the fights, but I think they are kind of pushing now with these big cards. They did talk about them looking to get a new deal or renewing their deal with Turner. At the moment in the States, I think that these two cards are very much aimed at getting the States market involved in watching the show. We still don't 100% know the times yet, if it's going to be US market times or Asian market times as of yet, do we?
All I know is March 26th, which is a Saturday, which lends tends to make me feel that it's going to be geared towards the US, right? Because normally it's a Friday night Asia, which is Friday morning US. So they are specifically looking to get some US interest here.
100%. And I love the fact that they've put Adriano on this card because, thank you very much, Drake. I just love to see Adriano on the card because after what he did against DJ last April and how much he did blow up and how much people were putting him in their their flyweight rankings lists and their pound for pound lists and left, right, and center. And it's nice to see him back on the big stage where he should be.
Absolutely. And yes, Drake, thanks for joining us. Chris, yes, definitely a stud muffin. Not sure you can say the same about me,
You are, Nick.
Well, I've been on the exercise bike, Chris, most days this month, trying to get thin. When you see me next, I might be a shadow of my former self in terms of my appearance.
Exactly.
You might not recognize me. The fitness program is on. I'm treating it like a training camp, like a fight camp, Chris. 2 months here, I think I'll be. So, or 2 more months even. So, I'm doing January, February. Let's get in shape. But anyway, back to this card, this big event. Yes. Do you think, Chris, they will actually get 12,000 in there? Will Singapore have the appetite for that? And also, will the government let it happen if Omicron keeps spreading?
Singapore seem very, very set to open up. They're opening up to more countries by the week as it stands. I know last week they did announce they're opening up to more countries. I think they will. I'm not sure if it will be the full 12,000. We might see a little bit of a socially distanced crowd, but I still won't be surprised if we see something maybe 6,000 or 4,000 and we run it like a third capacity. But I wouldn't be surprised either way if we still end up with full capacity because they're at such a high level percentage. I think they're around 95% vaccinated. So they're pretty much sorted, really.
Yeah, I don't really know what's going on there. I haven't followed. I think they have adopted the approach of let's just move on with life there. We've got the vaccination rate high enough. So, and I agree with that. I wish Hong Kong would do that, Chris, because
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like when I finally get back there, I'm going to return. It's going to look like Mad Max or something. You'll all be scrapping over the last baguette. And there's no transit planes, I hear, till February, mid-February. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so. So no in, no out.
Yeah, geez. May as well just stay here for a while. Got it a little bit easier,
100%. A little bit more space, most likely.
Yeah, and it's a lot more space, yes. Space is very, very underrated. I got to say, after 5 years living in cupboards, I think this bedroom I'm in now, my parents' house, is bigger than my whole flat in Hong Kong. If you discount the rooftop I've got, I think square footage, it's bigger, which is insane to think about. But what was I going to say? It's also good being in London for one championship because it's kind of midday start times for these shows. But UFC is a little difficult because it's in the middle of the night. Anyway, moving on. Let's see if they get the crowd in. A couple of other things I wanted to talk about from Chatri's interview on Ariel. He confirmed the bonuses story, which was exclusively revealed in the South China Morning Post, Chris. There will now be US $50,000 performance bonuses, a maximum of 5 every event at one championship, minimum of 1, and even losers can get them. And the main factor is kind of gameness, this phrase, which means fighting till the very last second. And that's why Timothy Nasty Yukin got one, as well as Daggy at Winter Warriors last month for their barn burner of a fight. Positive development, I think, Chris.
Oh yeah, 100%. I like it. Was it called the Warrior bonus before? I might be wrong there. I think it's better than the other one because the other one was generally at the behest of Chatri or whoever's on site, whether it's Rich Franklin or Matt Hume. I think this way it's a little bit more. We've got a little bit more knowledge on how they're really scoring it and who they're giving it to. And I like the fact that losers can get it too. I just think it's a really nice incentive.
Yeah, and I think it will cause a bit of buzz. People always asking after the UFC shows, who got the bonus? That's often me asking you, who got the bonus? Who got the bonus? So,
well, it's also a good way. when you go back and you want to watch a card or you want to watch a fight, sometimes you look on Wikipedia, for example, and see, oh, who got the bonuses, and you just kind of skip to those fights and enjoy them. So it's even that brings a bit of rewatchability, gets people talking. And look for you, Nick, when you're writing a headline, it's a little bit something extra special to say. It was such a good fight. Both people won $50,000 bonuses.
Absolutely, and I just want to. I want to know how they're going to announce it. Is Chatri going to tweet or put a Facebook post? Is he going to do a press conference or an interview? These virtual media interviews after each show.
I'd like to
Yeah,
see it tagged on to the end of the actual broadcast personally, and then maybe further discussed in the post-fight press conference.
for me as a greedy journalist, what I'd like is to have Chatri not announce it on the show, like have him do it to the media after the show. I want them to bring back these virtual media interview things they have. They're not doing them anymore. They're just kind of doing their own ones and sending them out. The Post, we're lucky we get a few interviews after the fights as well. But let's see what happens there. And I had another point I wanted to make about the bonuses, but I've forgotten it, Chris. I don't know what to say.
I guess it's good for fighters, good for fighter pay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, generally good. Causes a little bit of buzz as well. You can't not like a bonus. Anyway, what else I want to say? Oh, I've forgotten, Chris. Let's just go to the heavy hitters card. Has taken a lot of heavy hits, hasn't it? It's
100%.
I mean,
I think it started off with 9 fights, was it originally planned as?
I think so, and then we lost 3 or 4, and
It
one of
was
them they were
originally a 12 fight card, and we're down to 7, 8.
And I tweeted about it, so I'm gonna find my own tweet to just get all the info. But it was basically so light heavyweight kickboxing champ Roman Kriklia against Murat Aygun was scratched for the second time. They were originally scheduled to fight next gen in October, and then Aygun was out, so they brought in Iraj Azizpour, and that fell through as well. This time it's because of Aygun failing for COVID protocols. So that meant Semapech and Tawanshai's new co-main event. This one annoyed me. Leandro Ataides and Yushin Akami middleweight MMA fight was removed from the card as well. Ataides failed the health and safety protocols for COVID. And the Muay Thai bout between Elias Mahmoudi and Walter Gonçalves also scratched. Both of them didn't pass the COVID protocols. So Jeremy Miyado as well and Robin Catalan also off the card. But their original opponents, Senzo Ikeda and Elipitua Siriga, will now fight each other. So at least they salvaged something there. That was what originally happened, Chris.
Yep.
And then we've had yet more drama today with the weigh-ins. Now, One Championship is now broadcasting their weigh-ins, and hydration tests, which I think is a new thing.
They did it before the pandemic, and then they stopped doing it due to the pandemic, due to restrictions, apparently.
Okay, that's good because Chatri was asked about it on Ariel's show, and he said, "Yeah, we are doing that." And I thought, hang on, I don't recall that happening, but they are doing it, so that's really good. I think it's a positive step in the right direction. We'll get to that in a minute, what you think about it, but just to get the news out, Tawanshai missed hydration and weight, and his fight with Semapech is now a catch weight. Supergirl and Giannis Stofridis both missed hydration, but we're thinking they later passed away. They had till 4 p.m. local time.
Yeah, and as well, I think Supergirl came out about 0.6 kilos, did she? On the upper limit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in theory, she could maybe add 600 grams or 600 milliliters of water and then see what her hydration is after that, right?
I inquired about it and was told that they were now that some of them will be catch weight. I may have erroneously tweeted that they were all catch weight, so sorry about that. I will put a correction out, but
I think the weigh-ins were around between 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock Singapore time. And then I think after that, they had enough further 2 hours to get down to the correct weight or increase their hydration levels.
Yeah, and I feel they've got the ceremonial weigh-ins have just ended, and it wasn't mentioned about a catch weight for Supergirl or Giannis, I think. So there we go. Don't want to be accused of putting out fake news, Chris, in these times. But yeah, what do you think of them broadcasting weigh-ins now? And I suppose some people are still going to be skeptical because it's an electric, a digital scale. You've not got the normal ones you see for UFC, for instance, with the what do they call that? Where the scale moves, and the
I
type of
have no
scale I'm talking
idea,
about.
but
The
yeah,
old
I know exactly
fancy,
what you mean.
yeah,
Yes.
old-fashioned scale where you can physically see the scale move. We can't actually see the weight under the when the athletes step on a scale, and I'm sure there's going to be some conspiracy theorists out there who are going to say, "Oh, they're just making up all the weights and doing that," and then they've picked 3 of them to miss weight, today or whatever it was. So, what do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good to be showing the weigh-ins. I think it's good to show the hydration tests. I think it'd be better if they made the data more publicly available. Yeah, I think it's all good. It's just a bit of a shame that so many of the fights fell through on the cards, but it is what it is with COVID.
It is what it is, indeed. I think we're going to have to get used to that, aren't we, Chris? Just this year with Omicron, until that sort of dies down, we're going to lose a lot of fights. And the UFC, we're seeing that this card on the weekend for the UFC has been decimated, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, as well, like, even you look at this fight with One Championship, I believe almost everyone tested negative when they were leaving their home countries, right? So they've all tested positive in Singapore. Am I correct there?
Yeah, maybe they pick it up in transit, right? Because most
That's
of
it,
them got
yeah.
to go through Abu Dhabi, is it, or Dubai,
Yeah.
which
You've
is
got similar problems with the UFC having problems with it. I just think it's going to be, at least for the first 4 or 5 months of this year, it's probably we're going to always have on every card at least one fight probably falling out, maybe 2 or 3 on larger cards.
yeah. And I think those fighters who were kind of placed in Singapore might be ideally suited to
Oh,
avoiding all this, right?
100%.
Like your Ritu Fogats, those that evolve, Zhong Jingnan. The main event though, let's say that is on. That's
Yeah,
good. I think you don't want to see a main event drop out like that, do you?
no,
I mean, I know the main event dropped out of, I think it was Next Gen, yeah, Cricklier and Igun, and then Stamp. Or was it Winter Wonderland? Yeah, where Stamp
yeah,
and Ritu were promoted to the main event. But luckily I think that was the people's main event, Chris. The people wanted to
oh,
see Stamp
100%.
Ritu, but you never want to see a title fight if it is a proper MMA title fight. I would say scratched from a card, it does kill a bit of the buzz. So glad to see Zhong and Ayaka Miura is on. Yeah, why don't we talk about this card as it is then?
Yeah,
What
it's
let's
a
get your picks in, Chris.
super fun card, an amazing card, actually. I mean, you can just look at the lead card, aka the preliminaries. Um, those 2 fights just to start the night off with Shuya versus Troy Wervin and Tiffany Tail versus Meng Bo, I think are just absolutely fantastic.
I'm trying to open the browser on Fanatics so we can have a look at them. So bear with me, but have you made your picks yet, Chris?
I have not made my picks yet, but I'm super interested and I'm totally game for it. And you know what? It is a little bit of a sleeper card. I mean, we did lose the other title fight, but I actually think that this is such a solid card. I think we've got really good kickboxing fights in particular, and then all 4 of the MMA fights on there are absolutely live. Apart from, in my opinion, probably the main event, because I just think Panda's got a little bit too much for Miura.
Let's have a look. I've found it now. All right, Fanatics Fantasy MMA. Please go download it if you haven't. The information, I'm going to put it on the yellow ticker there now. You can go to getfanatics.app/SCMP. You can make your picks for, they've got everything there: UFC, One Championship, Bellator, PFL, anything else on there. You can make your own group with your friends, or you can join our group, the SCMP group, and test yourself against the esteemed names you see there in the middle of your screen. We all give our picks every week, and we're often nowhere near being correct. So it's it's very easy to beat us. But let's get into it, Chris. Zhang Jingnan, you've gone with the Panda. I'm going to make my pick now. I'll be straight up. I don't see any way Ayaka Miura is going to beat her. I'm just going to go with the Panda. Pretty straightforward. Drake has also gone with her. A few others haven't picked yet, so we'll see where they go. But I think most people on the app, Chris, are leaning towards the Panda.
100%. She's just absolutely awesome. Fantastic. All good. Probably, in my opinion, the best female MMA fighter in one championship history. Probably just edging out Angela Lee a little bit there. But you can toss it back and forth between those two. And yeah, she's just, in my opinion, got the much better stand up. She's got great takedown defense. I think she's actually got better wrestling than Miura. Miura is pretty good off her back, but Panda just hits so hard. I just totally see her running through.
All right, my browser isn't opening up here. Normally I can access all the stats and things here, but I don't know if it's an issue with Fanatics or my internet speed. Could very well be my internet because it's been very temperamental since I've been here. But Zhang Jingnan, I'm looking at it on my phone, -335 favorite, very heavy favorite here, Chris. And yes, a lot of consensus going for her. What about Kriklia and Eigen? Let's go down to there.
This fight's been called off.
Fuck, you're right. Yeah, we just talked about that, didn't we?
Yeah.
See, I'm like I just read the auto cue. You know, I'm like, just whatever's in front of me. All right. Well, Fanatics, hopefully update that. Semapech and Tawanshai is now a catch weight, as we talked about. Drake has gone a Semapech. Tawanshai missed weight and hydration, so he's also an underdog here, +120. What are you going for, Chris?
I'm going to go for Sampech. I think he has a little bit more. I think he's fantastic defense. I think when you look at who they fought and their record against opponents they both fought, Sampech has done a little bit better. I think still at 27, he's in his prime, and I think he just have a little bit too much tactical nous for Tawanshai, and also I'm slightly factoring to the fact that he missed weight and also overly hydrated himself, which might take a little bit out of himself going into this fight.
I'm just going to throw a cat amongst the pigeons. I'm going with Tawanshai, Chris. So, well, if it lets me, I'm trying to pick it on the app. There we go. It's not corresponding to the browser. Something's going on. It's a bit fishy today, Chris, the Fanatics browser. If you're still watching, James, some bugs here at the moment. All right. Let's move down the card. James Nakashima, staying at lightweight, Chris, against Saigid Zakakmayev, who, of course, has Khabib Nurmagomedov in his corner in Singapore, the legendary Eagle, former UFC lightweight champion. Nakashima, Drake Riggs picking Nakashima. We saw Nakashima's lightweight debut. He got submitted pretty easily by Shinya Aoki, former champ.
No, he won his debut. Oh, that was lightweight debut. Yes, sorry.
Yeah. But he looked pretty good in his welterweight title fight against Abasov, and to me was winning the fight until Abasov caught him with a knee in, I think, the fourth round, and that was the beginning of the end. Busted his nose up.
Yep.
What do you think about Nakashima staying at lightweight? And I mean, I haven't seen Izagakmaev, but we know, like you say, Chris, the best base for MMA is Dagestani.
Yeah, that's it. And you know what? I've had the chance to watch some of this guy's fights. I've watched him fight in UAE Warriors. He's had some good fights in Fight Night Global that you can find out there. He was on the Eagle FC and UAE Warriors joint show. That they did as a tribute to Abdul Manap Nagmamedov, Khabib's father. And actually in that fight, he lost to a Guyanese fighter called Carlston Harris, where he actually got tapped out to a Darce choke. So he does have some weaknesses in this game, you know. Even Khabib in his interview, I think on the One Championship page, was saying they're slightly similar, but they're not exactly the same. And we do see it with all the Dagestanis that they do have totally different strengths. The thing is, this guy comes with such a big name. He's got such a big following, and we've seen it in the UFC. We've seen it in Bellator. We've seen it in PFL. That these Dagestanis, they keep coming over and they keep doing the business. But just sometimes I look at James Nakashima's run in LFA. It was fantastic. His win against Yushin Okami was fantastic. And I agree with you. I think he was winning the Abasov fight. I think going to the ground to Shinya was a little bit of a problem in that fight. It was probably never going to work out for him. This is a little bit of a pick for me, especially with that plus 300 on James Nakashima's name. Um, it does just kind of push me a little bit in that favor because, we're not just doing picks on this app. We are going against the Vegas odds makers. So on that, I'm just going to go for James Nakashima.
All right. I'm
Um,
going with Saigid, so I'm playing it safe, Chris, but
100%.
that's what makes it fun. Supergirl, as we said, missed hydration up against Katerina Vandrieva,
Yep.
who I think has losses to Jackie Bhutan and Janet Todd. Am I right?
Yep.
Okay,
Which
so
there's no shame in losing
no
to those
shame in
two.
that. But it's
No.
she's kind of the measuring sticks to see what Supergirl is made of here. Uh, Drake has gone for Vandrieva though.
Oh wow.
I don't know who to pick. I'm on the fence here. I'm. Uh,
The
uh,
thing is, Van der Eva, she looked very good in the Jackie Buntan fight, I want to say. I think
yeah, it
she
was
did win a
close.
round, right? I think
Yeah,
we were going into the last round very close. It was a very tough fight. She has great control. I know against Jackie Buntan, she did have quite a big height and reach advantage. I don't know if that would be exactly the same going against Supergirl. But if she can operate it and can use it, she has a great chance. I mean, you do look at it and you think she has a 71-inch reach, 180 centimeters, which if she can use that to her best, she has a great chance. But I'm going to go with Supergirl. I'm just a little bit more confident in her abilities.
all right. Well, look, the rest of this card has been a bit decimated, so I don't know if it's worth us going through the rest on Fanatics because it needs to be
Um,
updated. I
I think they've
will.
got the Isaev fight versus Giannis. For this fight, go Isaev. I think he's absolutely
Yeah,
fantastic. Um, hopefully, we can get that heavyweight Grand Prix soon in the kickboxing because we've got so many good kickboxers now at heavyweight. I think it just needs to happen. And this guy Isaev, I think he's gonna walk away with the title soon.
all right, bold prediction from Chris there. Okami and Leandro off, as we said. So is Mahmoudi and Gonsalves. Ikeda and Miyado too.
I think there's two further down that we should go through. We got Shuya versus Troy Worthen, which
Yeah,
I believe tomorrow night is going to be the opening fight of the card. I think it's a fantastic fight to start it out, and I'm a little bit surprised with Drake Worthen here actually back in
Drake Worthy.
Jake Riggs back in Troy Worthen. I just actually absolutely rate Shuya. I think his run in Pancrase was good. I think everything he's done since he's come over to One Championship has been fantastic. He's on a five fight run. Got that awesome win over Bruno Pucci, then Mitchell Chimale. I just think there's something about this kid. Go back and watch some of his fights in Japan. He's still so young. He's got age on his sides. On his side, I just think he's gonna maybe get it done against Troy, and Troy's coming off two fairly bad losses actually.
Yeah, he lost to what's his name?
Yusuf
Yusuf
Saudalayev,
Sardalayev, yeah, and then John Lineker with the
he went
knockout.
down in weight to fight John Lineker, right?
No, I think it was bantamweight still, right?
Okay.
Yeah, he had been unbeaten before the Sardalayev fight, and the Lineker fight was short notice, and he was kind of going back and forth. I think he just moved out to Florida, I think, or back to Florida, whatever. He was now with Sanford. A bit of upheaval in his life. So yeah, this is a big year for him. 2022. He's got to prove Troy Worthen if he's to can he get back what he had before. He showed a lot of promise. Very nice bloke, very nice dude. I always think he looks exactly like Mike Perry, but he's a far more wholesome. Yeah, they could be twins.
Well, that's a bit of an interesting part to this evening because you've got James Nakashima and Troy Worthen on the same card who came in very strongly, big reputations. They went on early runs and then they've both been on not a skid, should we say, but when they have hit trouble, they found it. And these are two guys who were in the rankings a year ago. And they do know if they win this fight, they're probably maybe right back in the rankings or one win away.
Yes, it should be a good fight. I'm looking forward to it.
Who are you
A
going for
lot
that one,
more.
Shuya or Troy?
Oh man, I'm gonna just give Troy a vote of confidence there. I used to see I saw some promise in him. Yes, he had some good victories. I remember over Mark Abelardo. Looked very impressive the last time before the pandemic really took hold. I think in February he was on the King of the Jungle card. Very impressive. So I'm going to give Troy a vote of confidence here. I don't think he's going to bounce back, get a decision maybe. But let's see what happens. You make some very valid points, Chris, and he is a big, big underdog there. So I might get some points on the board. Anyway, Tiffany Teo and Meng Bo is on. But
Yep.
Chris, Meng Bo, who was at atomweight and in the atomweight Grand Prix, of
Still
course,
ranked number 5, I believe, in the
yeah,
organization.
and she missed weight in February last year for an atomweight fight that wasn't the Grand Prix. She moved up to strawweight, and we all thought this is a great idea. You know, maybe she's struggling with the weight, and she missed badly. Let's remember it was over 2 kilograms, I think, 2.5 kilograms. Is that right? Or two
Yeah.
and a half pounds? No, it's kilograms. I think it was. Yeah, and then
It was about 2 kilograms, which is
yeah,
about 4.5 pounds.
she's gone up to strawweight to fight Tiffany Teo, former titleweight challenger. We thought great idea if she can't make the weight anymore, and also she could fast track her way to a title shot with this win here. And she just about made weight, Chris. She needed the curtain, the dreaded
Yeah.
curtain, at the weigh-ins. So it was on a knife edge there.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what surprised me so much is that she actually needed it, because you'd think coming up in weight, and I know she missed, but she ended up still closer to the atomweight limit than the strawweight limit when she had that catch weight, and it was just shocking to see. I don't know if it's just something that's happened and it's a change in metabolism or a change in her diet, but she does seem to be struggling to get down to fight weight.
yeah, she's got to sort something out there. That's 2 times now, nearly, that she's missed weight in space of a year, and
Yeah.
it's just crazy that going up a whole weight class and then nearly doing it again. But the fight's on, so fair play to her. She did it. We can't complain. That's at the end of the day. The point is moot. She made it, so it's on. And who do you think's going to win, Chris?
I think it's a tight fight. People have to put a lot of respect on Mengbo's name, you know what I mean? Because in the organization, she's only lost once. That was against Ritu. I think she kind of played into Ritu's hand after the first
Yeah.
round. I think she was dominating the fight. I think she was winning. And then for some reason, she just allowed Ritu to start using her wrestling, which to me was slightly disappointing from Meng. But you know what? There's been times in the past when I've doubted Tiffany Teo as a fighter. I've doubted her ability, and you know what? Her last run has been anything short of phenomenal. When you just go through it, and it's the win over Michelle Nicolini, and then the absolute domination of Ayaka Miura off the first Panda loss, which was a very, very one-sided loss. It was a bit of a beatdown. And then you know what I remember in that second fight? It's very rare you can say a fighter's best performance is in a loss, but I think that was Tiffany Teo's best ever performance. I think if you're doing that in the UFC scoring, I think it'd probably be 47. Am I right? 48, 47. I think it'd be so close between the two of them. I thought Tiffany actually could have won it. I thought it was the best women's fight of our one championship in the previous year. So I'm going to put a lot of respect on Tiffany Teo's name, and I think the odds makers have put a lot of disrespect on her name. I think it's a pretty juicy price, so I'm going to back Tiffany Teo to get the job done. I just think she's got a little bit more. She's used to the weight. She didn't struggle to make weight. And I think she'll at some point probably get the fight down to the ground and do some real damage with that ground and pound.
It'd be interesting if she wins, Chris, because they're not gonna. You think they'd go back to the trilogy? It's always tough to book a trilogy when one fighter has 2 losses, isn't it? We've seen it with Max Holloway and Alex Volkanovski, although that just got scratched and now it's the zombie. But would you think one would have any appetite if Tiffany wins to book her against Panda again so soon?
I think give it time. I think I'd want to give it more time, you know. A lot of people we forget, you know, even Meng Bo, right? You think of her as a little bit of a veteran because of how big her record is, but you have to remember she's only 25. She's still got a lot of growth to do in this game. And, you know, you look at Panda now, she's 33, she's not getting any younger. I think there's a little bit of a waiting game to be played by any of the women in this division.
22 fights for Mengbo by the age of 25.
Yeah. I think her fight with Zhang Weili, I think it was when Zhang was 16 and she was 17, but I might be wrong there.
Zhang Weili is a lot older than Mengbo. She's 31, I think.
Yeah,
Or
oh,
32.
sorry. I think Mengbo must have been a teenager when they fought each
Yeah,
other, right?
yeah,
So I think it was Mengbo's second fight, right?
yeah. It was Zhang's first.
Yeah.
Crazy.
All the way
She's
back in
got a lot of experience.
2013, it was nearly
Yeah,
8 years ago. So, yeah, she would have been 17, 18, Mengbo at the time.
and you got to remember as well, Mengbo also had, I think, a couple of years out with injury, so
Yeah.
she knows how to squeeze the fights in. She done well. How many did she have last year? I think it was 3, right?
Yeah, I think she had her Ritu, Samara
Yeah,
Santos, and another one I can't remember.
and I don't think she fought in 2020. Uh, yeah, it's crazy how active she's been in certain time periods in her career. So let's see. I'm backing Mengbo, Chris. I think she's got enough to get it done. It's these sliding doors moments. I think if she had not let go of the armbar against sorry, if she had not gone for the armbar against Ritu in that first round, I think she would have got a TKO, and I think she then would have gone through to the finals of the Grand Prix. She could have ended up winning the whole thing, and she could have now been challenging Angela Lee very easily for the atomweight title, Chris. I think she's very good, and I think we're going to see her become the next challenger for Zhang Jingnan, because I'm backing Zhang to beat Ayaka Miura. And that's a good fight, Chris. An all-China derby, I think, would be good.
100%. And it'd be great if China can open up by then so they could put the show on in front of the fans.
I'm not putting my hopes on that, not crossing my fingers.
Yeah, I think as well, if Mengbo has success in this fight against Tiffany, I think some of the other girls from the Grand Prix, particularly Ritu and a few others, should maybe think about coming up in weight because, no disrespect, but in comparison to the atom weight, which is so filled out, you could probably do a top 10 and maybe even a top 15. Strawweight is still depressingly so thin.
Yeah, great points. And I think we could see a few more of the women jumping up, Chris. Anthony in the chat asking, when's Ongla back? Well, he has said on his social media, that it's going to be very soon. So I'm thinking, Chris, it'll be February. What do you think? Or would they save on for the big show?
I don't think they'd put him on the 1X. I'd kind of expect him on the Bibiano versus John Lineker fight.
It's
I
weird,
feel
though,
like if you look at that 1X, if you've already think you've got DJ Rodtang, you've got Angela Lee fight, you've got Marias, you're gonna have Sage, you're gonna have Eddie, you're gonna have Shinya. We saw it a few times when we had part 1, part 2, and part 3 of an event where we had a number 1 that was so loaded, and then they slowly got weaker and weaker. I'd like to spread that out because he is just such a big name, and we don't really have any other big names ready yet for the February show.
Yeah, but when you think of who's the biggest star in all of One Championship, it's without doubt him in terms of the amount of support he has. So it'd be unthinkable to me 2 years ago that Online Sang wouldn't be on the biggest shows of every year. He always was on. He was on both of those Tokyo cards.
Yeah.
He was lined up for the first of, or for one of those infinity cards they were going to do before the pandemic. He was on their first show back from the pandemic, Inside the Matrix, whatever it's called, Enter the Matrix. How did they never get sued for that, by the way?
I have no idea. Well, it wasn't it was Inside the Matrix.
But is that not a trademark phrase?
I have no idea.
Was it Inside or Enter? Because Enter the Matrix was a video game.
Yeah, it's Inside the Matrix. Okay. Yeah, so they got around that one a little bit.
Good job, guys. All right. Well, yeah, he was on that. He was on the first or the second one on TNT. One of the live TNTs he was on. So he's always been a bankable superstar for them, and who's on every show. I just feel he's got to be on this 1X thing.
Yeah, I feel. You know what? Ongla, Eddie, Shinya, and DJ are the fighters I really look at and think One Championship really, really needs to get as much juice out of these guys before they're a little bit too old, because they're all on the wrong side of 30, and some of them approaching 40.
Yeah, I think we saw they've got other people they'll go to fill out main events for other cards. I think after the first Tokyo show, A New Era, Martin Nguyen was the main event for the April show when he had the featherweight title. I think that's what's led to Bibi and Lineker headlining that February show. I think whatever it is, for whatever reason, they see them as not marketable or whatever, and or less marketable than some of the other stars. So they kind of use them to headline other shows. So I think Ongla will be on it. You can't have a 10th anniversary without Ongla. He's one of the cornerstones of the company, Chris. He's been, they're the biggest name there. I think for out of the 10 years they've been around, he is the biggest superstar if you go by his following.
Do you know who I'd love to
Great
see
fight.
on either of the shows? I'd love to see Derrida, because I think he's such a star, and I think he's such a potential star for the organization. They just need to get him front and center. And the one other person who I absolutely love at the moment is Jared Brooks.
Yeah, maybe we can do that. We can fantasy book the 1X card because Chatri said 18 to 20 fights, Chris. It's going to go all day long, he said. So,
Oh, wow.
geez, I don't know. It's going to be a long day for all of us, for all of the staff there, all the fighters. I can't wait though. I love these crazy bonanzas one does. The double card thing in Tokyo was just one of the toughest days I've ever had, but one of the best. And let's think who's on this card though. It's sort of snowballed this week. I sensed something was coming because I saw a lot of fighters start saying fight contract signed. Derrida did it, which tipped me off, and Angela did it. Ongla did it. So I
Bibiano.
think Bibiano. I think we're going to see Derrida Abasov, and it's going to be for the middleweight belt, and that it's going to be on 1X. What do you think?
Quite possibly. I think it is a possibility, but
maybe he's one of the ones they might use to pad a main event like a February show or what.
Yeah.
That could
I don't
be.
know. I love
blood.
Derrida. I think he's got everything to him, and not only that, he's got the skills to it, and I think he's got to be the only champion, right, in one championship with a 0 at the end of their record.
Yeah, he's. I think he's one of the best kept secrets in MMA, and I remember my bold prediction, Chris, from our best of 2021 awards show. Actually, you weren't on the show, were you? Yeah,
No.
but you were watching, and you saw my prediction that I thought Derrida will become the first triple champion in one history, and then he will vacate the middleweight belt. So I think he's going to defend this middleweight belt against Abasov. I think he will win that fight, and then I think later in the year he will go for the heavyweight belt, whoever that is, because they're going to have an interim champ, so they'll have to play that division out. Arjan versus Malikin or Grashenko, and then I think late 2022, Derrida is going to challenge whoever the champ is at heavyweight. That's the bold prediction. But yeah, I think he'll be on this show. And then who else? 18 fights. That's crazy. Eddie.
Because I do think, what's going on with Joshua Pacquiao? Is he going to fight someone before Jared Brooks? Because didn't they say they want Jared Brooks to have a second fight before the title?
Well, Jared's fighting on the next January card against Tankai. So
okay,
I think they're going to do Joshua versus Bokang, the lethal giant.
How is Bokang's ability to get into Singapore?
Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, what needs to happen? I need to set up another interview with Chatri. I think I'm going to pick his brains about all this. So let's see. I'll ask him. Also, yeah, I want to say thanks. He gave me a shout out on Ariel's show, and Ariel no-sold. I think Ariel no-sold SCMP a little bit. He pretended not to know the name of the great South China Morning Post.
Well, he knew the South and the Morning and the Post bit, but he didn't get the China bit, which is kind of like the most memorable part of the name.
Yeah, he's like, oh, what's it called? The South something. I don't know. A few people actually, a few fighters have struggled to remember the name of it. I think Martin Nguyen used to call it like the South Morning China Post. But I thought it was a bigger brand than it is. Obviously, it's not outside of Hong Kong.
Well, it's okay. We'll get there, mate.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Chatri said, he gave me the credit for that. So it's very nice of him. Thank you, Chatri, for that. And nice to see Ariel doing that. I really appreciate those things, Chris. And maybe
Yeah,
we're no longer a
100%.
rinky dink podcast.
That's it. We're
We're,
moving up in the world.
yeah, as Luke Thomas uh, branded us, I believe. So, okay. Yeah, any other fights you think are going to be on that 1X? Eddie Alvarez, Chatri said he's going to be on it. So, who's Eddie going to fight? Is it Daggy? Has Daggy recovered? Because Daggy went to hospital after that Timothy fight.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it could be Lapicus. If Lapicus is healthy again, they might run that back. And then, if you
Do you
think
think
about it,
them
Eddie. Sorry, go ahead.
with them saying Shinya Aoki will be on the card? Do you just think it's time to do that trilogy? Shinya
Well, like
versus
you
Eddie?
said, yeah, like you just said, time's running out for both those guys. So they got to
Yeah.
do it at some point.
I feel like whoever wins, because they're such big names, particularly if it's Eddie, you can kind of maybe put him in a title shot or say one more win.
Yeah. I think if Eddie beats Lapicus, I don't know where's Lapicus ranked now.
Fourth.
Fourth, okay.
Yeah, just above Timothy.
The problem is for Eddie is, yeah, he had just for whatever reason he had this luxury of one win was just going to get him a title shot. The way the rankings were at the time, and you had the inactivity of Daggy and Lapicus, and for whatever reason, Eddie was pretty close to getting that Christian Lee fight. The whole landscape has changed now in lightweight. I think Oak Rayun is the champion. They're going to run back Christian Lee versus Oak, I'm pretty sure, and then Eddie's going to have to put a few wins together. I think now
But I
he's going to
mean,
have to.
you look at that the champion Oak, Eddie lost to him. You look at number 4 and 5 there as well, Lapicus and Stuke, and he's lost to both of them.
Yeah, and yeah, I think Eddie came here to win the title, and he made that clear all the time. And he said, "I'm not interested in fights that don't get me to the title," because he was dismissing fighting Shinya for that reason. But now Shinya is probably closer to the title than him. Shinya's gone about his business. He's put together a little win streak now.
Well, he was winning that fight against Lapicus, but can I be a little bit rude to Eddie? You know, I'm a huge fan, but his only winning one championship has been against a slightly washed Edward Folleyang.
Yeah, I mean, I do think he would have beaten Lapicus.
Yeah.
And then he would have had the title shot. Let's be honest, against Christian Lee, he would have jumped the queue there. There wouldn't have been a queue. I mean, Oak kind of he had that crazy year where he came out of nowhere, but yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to see what happens with Eddie now. Is he able to win the belt? It's a tough one. Eddie v Daggy, I think will happen at some point. But we talked about that, didn't we? Oak and Christian. Do you think that's going to be on 1X? Because from what I've heard, my sources, that is set, that rematch. That's the next fight for the lightweight belt. So 1X is probably where it's going to happen.
Quite possibly, but I still don't know the full situation with Oak.
Yeah, he had the orbital, right? The broken orbital.
Yeah, which can be about 6 months, right?
Yeah.
I'm just not sure if March is a little
September.
bit too close.
Yeah, okay.
Am I right? Am I wrong here saying that the Lees don't really want to fight on the same cards as each other anymore? Am I wrong here?
I think they like to corner each other.
Yeah, I thought they don't want to be like they said. That's why didn't they say it's not a problem with Victoria because they're so far apart on the card. It's not really a problem. But is it a problem with Christian and Angela because they're both main and co-main, if not very close to that? I might just be making this up and overthinking myself.
That could very much be the truth. I mean, it's a shame because I enjoyed when they were both on the same card in Tokyo.
Yeah.
And they had a very nice...
Were they both on the same part of the same cards, yeah?
Yeah, and they did a press conference together with Demetrius Johnson. They were both on the morning
the US section. Yeah, the morning.
Yeah. And I thought it worked out really well. You had this really good optics of, the famous siblings, the Lee siblings, brother and sister, both having their belts there, champions in the press conference together, alongside the legendary Mighty Mouse. It was a great press conference, and I think it really looked good for one. And I think they should do it more, brother and sister Angela and Christian on the same card. For these big events, why not? If it causes problems with, we saw Trevor Whitman did 3 fights on that UFC pay-per-view. He coached, he cornered Justin Gaethje against Chandler, cornered Rose Namajunas against Zhang Weili, and then
But
Usman against Colby, and they all won. So it's not impossible for Ken Lee, Big Ken, to do 3 of his kids
yeah,
in one show.
I think it would be very hard though for the partner seeing the other one, if for one of them to see the other one lose. That's where I think the difficulty can arise, because we did see a little bit with Martin and Ong, and can make you a little bit emotional, right?
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. Good point,
Yeah.
Chris. Neil, the security, saying, "You guys probably noticed already, but Helwani shouted you out on the MMA." Yeah. Thanks, Neil. We
Thank you very much, Neil.
just had a bit of fun with that saying, but yeah, it was really cool to see, and thank you for telling us as well, and I hope you're enjoying the show. Good morning from Chicago as well. Yeah, I love Chicago, Neil. I went there a few years ago. It is very cold. I can confirm. Have you been,
That's how they
Chris?
got. That's no, but I hear that's why it's so cold. That's why they have deep dish pizza, right? Keeps you a little bit warmer than a normal one.
I guess I didn't
Did
realize
you
that.
did you try the deep dish when you were there?
I did, yeah. I went to one of the famous places that did it, and I can
Wicked.
confirm it was incredible. It was actually, when I was there, I was very lucky. It was in the middle of a heat wave, and I think they were saying the hottest summer Chicago had seen in like 100 years. So I was lucky, but it did get freezing at sundown, and I remember, yeah, you had to kind of quickly scamper inside. I was in a
Yeah.
hotel, sort of get off the balcony into the at the swimming pool. Anyway, so yeah, any other fights you can think of for 1X, Chris, or what? I'm trying to rack my brain.
There's nothing in particular I can think about.
Yeah, Tanley Gary. I would like it to still be there, but yeah, I feel it
I
won't
would
be.
love it. I just don't feel like it's gonna happen anytime soon.
But if they're doing 18 fights, do you think it's going to be a Rising style intermission, or
It could be
we can have 2
a
cards again?
US card. Yeah, it could be 2 cards. That's what I think.
Yeah, and then I think that might open up possibilities of seeing Tanley and Gary on there, and Derrida, Abasov. They're going to need title fights for that second card,
Mhm.
And Ongla kind of carried that second card, didn't he? He was the main event against Brandon Vera. He sort of provided the Asian interest at the top of the show, and then you had Bellion challenging Bibiano. Yeah, 2 cards would be fun again. Let's see.
Do you
Other than that,
think we got a comment here from Ruth Riviera? She believes Supergirl's elbows, knees, and solid punch to overthrow her opponent. Yeah, I can see that.
I've only seen Supergirl fight once, I think, in
Yeah.
one. Like Chris mentioned, I think. Yeah, I mean, I went for Vandrieva just because of how close the Jackie fight was, and I don't know. I'm a bit of a newcomer on Supergirl. This is a big it's a big showing for her, isn't it, Chris? It could be a win like that really propels her, and I think winner of this, if it's Supergirl, could challenge Jackie for the inaugural strawweight Muay Thai title. Would that make sense to you?
Quite possibly. I'm going to add one more thing about the Chatri interview. I found out is Ariel didn't really bring up any chances of a US card anytime soon.
Yeah, that's gone quiet again. I don't know if he was not talking about it. I mean, I know that they were. I think they were trying to explore the possibility of putting this show on in the US, the big 10th anniversary.
Because
But
the thing
then,
is, Christian Lee and Gary Tone and Tanley, they're the fights that I always think, like, if you're going to do something in the US market, they're the main ones you should try and focus.
yeah, I think that'll be late 2022 if possible. I mean, he talked a little bit about the US TV deal, didn't he? Nothing really new on that front as well. One thing I did want to bring up, he was asked about Estela Nunez, claiming Angela Lee missed weight in 2017 for their atomweight title fight, and it was a brilliantly blunt response from Josh. He just said, "I think she's a bold-faced liar. She's a steroid cheat." And Nunez had a 2-year suspension, didn't she, for steroids in
Yep.
2019? Yeah.
I think so.
And that fight when she made the claim about Angela was her comeback fight. Yeah. So
Yeah, because she signed because she was going to fight Angela Hill and
yeah,
Jinyu
in
Frey, and then
Mexico
she popped
City.
for the Jinyu Frey fight and had to take 2 years out.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know what to make of that. It's turning into he said, she said, isn't it? But yeah, it was funny, and I think it's good to see a bit of that, from one, because for so long they were doing the whole respect thing and honor and trash talk is no good. But it's good to see the fighters and Chatri himself, the promoter, engage in a little bit of that. It's kind of Donald Trump style, isn't it? Fight back. If someone says something
Yeah.
about you, go after them. Makes for Dana White does it a lot. And talking to Dana White, Chatri also got into this Dana White thing again. I mean, this is obviously never going to happen, a fight between them. But what was interesting to me is I don't think Dana knows anything about fighting, doesn't know anything about martial arts. He's just a fan. But
I think that's a little bit unfair, personally.
yeah, I see what he mean. I think he's trying to say he doesn't train martial arts, whatever. I think Dana had a little bit of time as a boxer size instructor. Is that right?
Boxing coach, yeah.
Yeah.
I know
I
he's
don't
been
know.
around boxing for a very long time. I know Floyd Mayweather worked with him in the 90s, like before the UFC. Like, he has been around boxing for a long time.
Yeah, it's funny though. I like seeing Chatri take jabs at Dana. I like seeing Dana take jabs at Chatri.
It's always the thing I always find really odd, right? Is like Chatri or Koka or Nabuki Sakakibara, the guys over at PFL. They very rarely say bad stuff to one another, where everyone seems to have bad stuff to say about Dana.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Chatri also said, "I don't like the way he talks down to his fighters." He said he's an outstanding businessman, but I didn't seem to rate him on that human level. Is there something to be said, Chris? Because I mean, I've spoken to a lot of fighters and a lot of people. Most people I have spoken to, there's so many people who have glowing admiration for Chatri, like some of your GSPs, and there's a lot of the stars in one all love him. And I know there are more disgruntled fighters at the lower end of the cards and the scales who maybe aren't so enamored with him or whatever, for whatever reason. But I mean, a lot of people seem to love the way he treats them, and they say, I mean, Eddie Alvarez said it. It's night and day with the way he was treated in UFC. What's the guy in UFC who, like a couple of years ago, everyone was revealing stories about him. The old matchmaker, you know who I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I know who you mean.
Joe something, or
I can't remember.
anyway,
Joe Silva, was it?
Joe Silva, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of fighters have said that, and we saw with how much Adriano Moraes, a lot of people were surprised to see how much money he was making. It was revealed in that lawsuit. What did he make? He got a huge bonus for knocking out DJ. It was like
Was it
$250K.
$250,000?
Yeah, and he
I
was
think
on
it doubled
100.
his. Was he
Yeah,
on? Was he on 50 and 50 for that fight? Am I wrong?
I think you're right. He made 100 from the fight, and then a 250 bonus. And he got to realize he's also now just re-signed, so he'll be on even better terms.
I think he's on 100 and 100, right? Oh, 100. No, he's on 50 to show, 50 to win, and is it 100 championship bonus is what he was on,
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
got a 250K personal bonus. But I think they mentioned as well is he's on is it a $5,000 or $10,000 a month stipend?
Yeah, so you get stipend as well, which I've always sort of thought that was the case in one, because a lot of
I know
these,
Onglar gets one. I know Martin gets one.
yeah, they sign these 10-fight contracts for a reason, Chris, because it offers
Yeah.
financial security, and yeah.
What I found quite interesting about the contract, actually, when I was going through it, is that it's quite interesting because they also have a time clause, which I
Clause.
found quite interesting. Yeah, so there's rather than it just being a straight 10-fight deal, it's It's a 10 fight in X amount of years deal.
So they got to get him in. All right.
Okay, yeah, I think that's the interest. So I think Adriano's is 4 fights and 2-year deal.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Well, yeah.
don't know what clauses it invokes if you go over the 2 years or whether it adds an extension on. But I guess
Yeah.
you probably need the 2 years for the stipend, right?
Well, whatever it is, I think
Yeah.
if you're a champion in one, you make good money, very good money. And
Yeah, you're very well looked after. I always remember Ben Askren, I think, was on 50 and 50 plus 50 for every title defense.
yeah, very good.
Yeah, so he was on
And
pretty good money.
that was kind of 10 years ago, nearly, wasn't it? So,
Yeah.
well, but yeah, like I say, Chatri, he polarizes his opinion, I think, and some fans, and but I think a lot of his fighters love him, and I really like the guy. He's very nice. I
Yeah,
didn't
I
give me
like
the
it.
shout out. He was cool. He very nice to me after my brother died recently. So
I like them all, man. Like, I like Dana as well. For everything I don't like about him, there's something I do like about him. He's done fantastic, and we probably won't be here if it wasn't for Dana as much as it wouldn't be for Chatri and Saki Kabara back with Pride and going all the way back to Art Davey, right? There's a lot of people who have a hand in growing the sport.
absolutely.
You know, if Royce Gracie would have just lost to some steroid heads, we might not be here.
Yeah, I think Chatri's taking more of a role front and center now than before. Well, I mean, he's always been front and center, but he seems to be getting more
Look,
publicity, isn't he? He's been on
in the
aerial
way
now.
in the way I see it, we're kind of like in the second or third phase of one championship. We had the early years when we had people like Bob Sapp and Fabio Maldonado and all the journeymen and very average fighters. No offense to people like Paul Cheng coming over here, and then it's just grown and grown and grown. And then we had the bit of a boom era with a certain LM who was kind of in charge. And ever since LM has kind of gone, though, we've kind of seen a different moving direction. We've seen it get a little bit bigger, more openness to trash talk, less confrontational with the media at times. I don't know if it's anything to do with that, but there has around that time and when they gutted out a lot of executives, there has been a big change in direction, and I think it's been for the better.
Yeah, you're right. Less confrontation with media. That's definitely true in the last year or so.
I think they've tried to be a bit more fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Less
nothing worse than
serious.
when you're kind of getting nagged by PRs to change headlines and to take things out of stories because your natural reaction is no, unless it's factually incorrect, which then of course you're happy to. But when it's just like, oh no, we don't want that to be there. It's like, well, this person said that to me. I have every right to put it out there. It's just something. If I was a PR, which I may end up being one day, who knows? Because money's probably a lot better. I would know how to deal with journalists. We're cranky often, media types. We don't like those kind of things. But anyway, Neil asking, the kicks to grounded opponents make it difficult for one to expand. It seems a lot of people look down on that kind of thing. It's not a silly question, Neil. It's a lot of people have mentioned this kind of thing, and DJ himself caused a stir when he put on Twitter that after Aljamain Sterling's thing with Peter Yan, that grounded knees is the way forward, and then ironically DJ lost to a grounded knee. But
Well, he
Chris,
did say afterwards he still stands by it.
Yeah, but what do you think of Neil's question? Yeah.
Well, we don't have kicks to grounded opponents first, Neil, but we do have knees to a grounded opponent.
Sorry, I thought he
Kicks
meant
have been
knees,
going
but
for
yeah.
a bit. I don't really totally have a problem with it. I think it's underutilized. I think it's a pretty good technique, to tell the truth. And my issue is if you can do a knee to a standing opponent and a knee to an opponent on the floor, I don't think it makes a huge difference. DJ was not as knocked out as Ben Askren, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ben Askren was a flying knee. It's still a knee to the head, but he just wasn't grounded.
Yeah.
If you look at the one that Ben Askren got, there's a lot more pull up and force going into that single point on your head compared to what DJ had. Because, I mean, Adriano did bring his leg back, but he didn't have his bring it as far back and had the run up, right?
The run up, exactly. Soccer kicks, I'm not a huge fan of. Yeah, I know
I'm
they
not
look.
totally against them. I think they work.
Yeah, it's sort
Yeah,
of it's one of those things. I think it's banned in certain rule sets for a reason, and
yeah,
if some people say, "Oh, well, it's more realistic that would happen in a fight," but so would eye gouging and 12 to 6 elbows and things like that, and shots to the back of
yeah.
the head.
There was an organization in Japan that did have a go at trying to do allowed soccer kicks, but just not to the head.
Mm.
So they would allow soccer kicks to say the kidney or the liver or the legs, right?
The groin if you're Ellen Lalani and
Yeah,
Thomas
that's it.
Namo. Yeah. So for some bizarre reason, I googled Thomas Namo's Tapology page yesterday. I think I have a friend who lives in Norway now who I studied journalism with, and he was saying that he'd followed us, on YouTube, whatever. So I said, "Oh, we got this Norwegian guy in one called Thomas Namo. He's fought for another organization recently, and he
Yeah, it's
lost.
quite common. A lot of their kickboxers and Muay Thai fighters fight for other organizations and fight elsewhere all the time.
This was MMA, right? So
Oh, was he?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Um, so he fought. I've got it. Let's bring it on screen for why not? He fought for Octagon, whatever that is. I don't know where this promotion is. The Last Viking. There you go. He lost to Daniel Dietrich end of the first round, so couldn't answer the call for the second round. It looks like, or the doctor waved it off. I don't know what happened actually, but it was last month,
So has he
December.
been released or have they given him a special release to get a fight in?
I don't know because like we knew he was going to be sacrificed to Buchecha in
Yeah.
whenever it was. That was cancelled after the Nalani fight. So yeah, maybe he was released. I don't know, but I'll search on Twitter. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. Let's go back. What were we saying? Yeah, that's about it, Chris.
Yeah. If
I
anyone
don't have
has a quick
anything else.
question they want to get in before we're all done out
Yeah,
here, let us know.
I mean, I wanted to talk other promotions as well today, but there's just so much stuff for one. So I thought we'd focus on one today. Maybe we can
Maybe we
chat
can fit in another
UFC.
show some point tomorrow.
Yeah, because so much happening in the world of UFC as well, Chris. With Masvidal and Colby, Zombie, Volk. Yeah, a lot of big fights have been made recently to pad out the first quarter of the year, the first third of the year.
Yeah.
Exciting times. Starting to see the promotions the wheels are all spinning a bit now, aren't they, Chris? And fights are
Yeah,
getting
I've
big.
even seen PFL put out press releases getting ready for their new season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
PFL, that was good. Tom Taylor had an interview with Peter Murray, the CEO of PFL,
Yeah.
on scmp.com/MMA. You can check it out, the article. PFL CEO Peter Murray took a shot at Bellator, said that PFL has surpassed Bellator in every metric now.
Yeah, but this is also very hard to compare, right? Because I mean, their Instagram and their Twitter's not as big, fair, so they haven't got as big a social media following. But what I would say is they probably do much, much better numbers on television because obviously Showtime is premium cable in America, so it's far more expensive than say ESPN, right?
Yeah, and I think Bellator's numbers are fairly low, like 80,000 or
Yeah,
100,000.
I have no idea, but it's Showtime, right? Because am I right
Yeah,
thinking Showtime's about 20, 25 US dollars a month? It's like
yeah,
HBO kind of prices, while ESPN you get like Disney and everything with it, right? Well,
yeah.
I think ESPN Plus is $6 or $7 a month.
But it's interesting, isn't it, though,
Yeah,
Chris? It's
and people will buy ESPN for UFC and PFL, while with Showtime, Bellator is kind of an adjunct product.
hmm.
Like you get Showtime really for stuff like Dexter and Billions, and it's famous for all these big dramas. They did Breaking Bad and stuff like this, right?
Breaking Bad was AMC.
Or was
Is
that
that?
AMC?
But yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah,
It's just a thing that but it also it's funny that PFL don't seem to acknowledge one at all. As that I saw, they sort of think there's three big ones and then the rest, right? And they don't see one fitting in that. And like you mentioned before, because of a certain person's departure from one, maybe that is the message being driven out there.
Well, listen, if you listen to Campbell McLaren, there's only the UFC and Combate Americas, right? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and if you listen to Chatri, it's only UFC and one.
yeah.
They're the big two gorillas, he says, in the East and the West. So different promoter. And if you listen to Dana, it's just the UFC. So,
and if I can say one thing, if we go back to the last time I was on in mid-December, I did say my thing for the next year or the year after is for Khabib to be MMA Coach of the Year. And you know what? If this guy does the business on Friday, we could see at the end of the year a Khabib trained champion in the UFC, PFL, Bellator, and one championship.
all right, I'm going to take that because you weren't on the predictions show, Chris, but I'm going to take that as your prediction. So remember that when we reconvene in January or late at the end of this year, we'll see if that comes true.
That's it.
Yeah, okay. I think that about wraps it up. There's a question here. Sorry, I'll put on screen from MJ Gaming. So, do you have any idea when Angela stamped down? Yeah, it's March 26th, guys.
Yep.
It's going to headline One Championship X.
Is it one Championship X, or is it kind of like the
One
iPhone X where we call it 110?
I think it's X. Yeah, from what I've heard. He said 1X on the show, but
yeah,
I know it looks cool on paper and on when you see it 1X, but it's not one of those things that does well as something to search on Google, which is something I have a problem with. One, when you search ONE, it's not like when you search UFC PFL, right?
Yeah.
It's an acronym, sure. Well, it's not even an acronym actually. It's kind of made out look like an acronym, but it doesn't bring up good Google search results. If you type one into Google, you don't get anything about One Championship. And same if you 1X into Google, nothing comes up like that. So it's I think it's not good branding wise. They should have sort of another name somehow they could have done. Anyway, I'm just being a grumpy old man. John AZ and John 15 wanted to leave a tone, and so did I. So did Chris.
Yeah.
We all wanted that, and I don't know what's going on there. Maybe there's been another injury, another setback. I hope not, because they've been meaning to fight for over a year.
Yeah.
Now, I hope they just get it out of the way. If they're not going to put it on the 10th anniversary, let's just do it. Let's get it done. I mean, what I was saying to someone on text, I can't remember who. It might have been you, Chris, but I don't know. I think it was Andy Whitelaw. I was praising Andrew Whitelaw on his brilliant media day interviews he did for one yesterday, and also praising his pronunciation of Ekaterina Vondrieva's name. It's not. I've said it wrong. I've butchered it. Something like Ekaterina Vondrieva. He really nailed it. But I was telling him, I wish they'd just done these Tarnley v Gary Tonin fights and Bibi versus Lineker in December, because then we could have had the winners on the March card again, providing there were no big health injuries or whatever. This
is the problem when you have these like 2 or 3 or I think they really want 4 these big tentpole events. The problem is that if someone's just slightly out for one or Mick misses out, sometimes they hold them for 3 months because they want them on these big tentpole events. And I just want to see the fighters fight.
Yeah, we could have had, say, if Lineker had won or Bibi won, we could have had, Bibi. So many challenges now in that bantamweight division, right? Andrade, Lohman, Kwan 1-0 put himself in the mix, and featherweight a little less so. But you got Kim Jae-in waiting in the wings. He's had to take another fight because his next title shot. They still haven't had another first title fight, so he's just taking a fight with Tang Kai for the hell of it. But
you know what? If Tang Kai wins it, then he's the number 1 contender. Really, should be getting the next title shot. But then if he has to take a fight in the meantime and he loses that,
Percy, we did see Chatri's interview. Yeah, we have we discussed it a little bit in the show and dissected some of the interesting points. One other thing I forgot to mention from it, he talked a little about Arjan Bullard, didn't he? And Arjan, of course, is the heavyweight champion, but they're doing an interim heavyweight title fight, and he reiterated that they're happy with Arjan, and it's just proving difficult. He hinted at, to negotiate slightly with CAA Sports. I mean, I'm not sure Chatri said that, but that's the belief I hear, and we've seen it from Francis and Ghani's side.
Well, that's good
Yeah,
because when you're difficult to negotiate with, they're trying to get their fight at the best deal possible.
yeah. I mean, and I just see the interim thing as an FU sort of, not an FU, but it's sort of a reminder to Arjun that, hey, look, we'll move things along. And I think Chetri said that in his statement. He said we got to keep things moving here. And if Arjun, it's is it galling when you see that, Chris, as a champion?
Yeah,
Like, oh, we're making
100%. I mean, but look, this heavyweight division, they've done so much to sign the talent, and I just think they want to move it on, right?
yeah,
They really, really want to make best use of all their talent. I mean, look, Ritu's got a little bit of a setback, really. She's going to be at least a year off a title.
yeah,
Um, so all the hopes of India now are kind of on Arjun following the Grand Prix.
yeah. Anyway, let's wrap it up there. Thank you,
Yeah.
Chris, for joining again. What's your weekend look like? I don't even know what day it is. Thursday today. Okay.
I am not totally sure. Hopefully, I jump on the podcast tomorrow night for the Fight Companion. Should be good fun.
Yeah, that's it. Fight companion,
Um,
guys, tomorrow.
yeah. That's it, really. I've just got a lot of work to do this weekend, and then come Sunday, might be a bit too bad timing for you, but we could always do a cheeky post-fight podcast. But I think your
Yeah,
fights might be the middle of the night for you.
I'm about to find out. I'm dreading even looking at what time they start, but we'll see. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
And
The
yeah,
main
fight
card
companion.
starts at midnight for you.
Ah, okay. So just maybe stay up all night then. Sounds fun. Okay. All right. We'll do that. And
Oh, I think there's one more thing we should quickly touch on, very, very quickly. But I think we
yeah.
should give a little big up to someone who did something very special around 11 a.m. Hong Kong time
Oh
this
yeah.
morning.
Forgot about this. Yeah.
The Queen herself, Ramona Pasquale, the Queen of Hong Kong
Yeah.
MMA, I guess, winning her debut fight in Icon about 9 months ago now, and then to win her debut fight in Invicta. Fantastic performance. I mean, unfortunately, Courtney King was injured. She couldn't really fight Courtney, who
Yeah.
is of a much higher level than the girl she did fighting. But what a strong, dominant performance,
Yeah. Very
especially in
impressive.
the co-main role.
Yeah. Do you think it's enough to get a UFC spot, or is she gonna have to win one more? I think she's
Maybe
gonna
win
have to
one more. I'd rather her to keep fighting in Invicta personally, rather than taking like Dana White Contender Series. But I don't really know what deal she signed with Invicta, whether it was just a one-fight deal or.
There's one fight, yeah. She told me, and she said she's open to fighting again for Invicta. Maybe she could just very easily kind of get a kind of title shot in some of these other federations. Would you think that's a better way, or just go straight for the UFC?
You know what? It's really tough to say because I'd say to most people stay in another organization, but Ramona is not the youngest fighter out there. I was actually listening to Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell the other day, and they said it was a pretty important card to watch, even this Invicta card, just for the atom weights, because they were like, we're probably going to have an atom weight division soon. There was Luke Thomas's big like prediction for the year that they will do this division. But yeah, it's hard to say because I think she's not here for a long time, right? She's here just for a good time and see how far she can go, right?
Yeah, and I think by the end of the year we'll see her in the UFC. So
Definitely, yeah. I think one more fight, because the problem is if you kind of get caught up into getting a title, that can put all sorts in your contract.
yeah, true. But anyway, I messaged her. I'll try and interview her later on today for the channel. So keep your eyes peeled for that. SCMP MMA. But yeah, like Chris said, we'll be back for the fight companion. Neil's gonna watch. Thanks, Neil. You have a wonderful day too. And WMA thing now. I'm sure I'll see you there. What energy drink you got going on? That's I'm a sugar-free Red Bull man, Chris.
I'm kind of like the sugar-free monster.
Okay. Well,
a
that's
bit of a
very
big account.
MMA themed monster.
That's true.
All right, that'll do it. We'll be back. I think the show starts, what, 8 p.m. or 7 p.m. is it? For
7:30, I think.
7:30.
Hong
So
Kong time.
we should be there half an hour before the things get underway, or 15 minutes at least, to talk a bit of smack, as we always do. And yeah, I might have to jump off Chris before. Well, Tom Taylor's got to take his cat to the vet, so he's not going to be around after the fights end. So I'm going to have to do all the interviews myself, I think. So I won't be able to talk crap for another half hour after the show ends. That's always my favorite portions of the show. But we'll be there to talk through the fights. And it's a Venom drink, only 99 cents. All right, I've never heard of that, Venom.
No.
It sounds poisonous. All right. I will. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, see you tomorrow. Hopefully, have a good day, everyone else out there, and thanks for watching the show.